Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Marrow and I am the Talent Acquisition Apprentice here at Siemens. I want to say thank you for joining us all here today just to ask any questions that you've got about Siemens or find out a bit more about Siemens and who we are and what kind of opportunities we do have. Before I jump into who Siemens are and kind of the recruitment process, I wanted the other guys joining me here today just to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Oliver. Do you want to introduce yourself, Oliver?
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. I'm Oliver and I'm the marketing intern here at Siemens. So if any of you have any questions about internships or anything, feel free to ask them to me at the end. I'll also be moderating the questions as well. So if anyone has any questions at the end, I'll direct them to the right person. So feel free to ask any questions you have at any point. I'll hand it over to Ellie now.
Hi everyone, my name's Ellie and I am a finance and commercial graduate here at Siemens. I started here at Siemens in September 2020, so been here just over a year now. And I got this grad scheme after finishing Sheffield Hallam University in May of 2020. So just after kind of COVID all kicked off. So I was really lucky to get to go through all the kind of application and interview process with Siemens face to face and do that stuff kind of in person. And the grad scheme I'm on here with Siemens is really good for me as well because they give me the opportunity to study SEMA while I work. So by the end of my graduate scheme here, I'll be a fully qualified accountant. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I will pass over to Antoine.
Hello, I'm Antoine. I studied computer science at Newcastle University. I am now a graduate software engineer for Siemens Mobility, and that's based in Poole. I got onto the graduate scheme by participating in the Sustain a City Siemens Challenge in my final year. So yeah, you can ask any questions about that as well. I'll just pass on to Patel.
Made the fatal mistake of being on mute. Hi everyone, my name's Nikhil. I'm a graduate currently, but I also did an internship, which led to me getting undergraduate scheme. I'm working in Newcastle, which is also where I went to uni, except I studied electronic engineering, and now I'm a software engineer, so a little bit of a change, but not that much.
Thank you, guys. They will be going in a bit more detail, kind of about the first kind of year and that kind of thing about in a little bit. But I just wanted to kind of kick off by talking a bit about Siemens and the recruitment process. So Siemens is a massive company, and I like to think of Siemens as kind of an umbrella. And there's lots of different companies under that umbrella, all operating, under the name Siemens, but they do lots of very different things. So we have two businesses here that you can see on the screen called Siemens Healthineers and Siemens Energy. So they are two kind of separate businesses. They have their own recruitment team, they have their own teams and businesses and buildings, and they operate by themselves, but they do operate under the name Siemens. And then we've got the more central Siemens, which has a few businesses, well, quite a few different businesses in it, some digital industries, mobility, smart infrastructure. We've got corporate functions under there, and that is who myself and the other guys on this call work for. And as I said, you've got lots of different businesses under that umbrella name of Siemens. So not only do Siemens have a lot of different businesses or areas, we also have lots of different roles from engineering, business, finance, HR, computer science, quantity surveying, telecommunications, project management, and also software. We have lots of different graduate, intern, and also apprentice roles here at Siemens. So I have different hiring managers come to me saying, I want a telecommunications intern or graduate or anything like that, and we have new graduates joining us every year in different disciplines. So this list here is not static. That is not the only people we recruit into. So there's definitely lots more opportunities here at Siemens. So whether you are into engineering or business or even kind of recruitment like myself, there is definitely lots of different opportunities here. Before I hand over to the grads to talk a bit more about their recruitment process and how they found their first year or so, I wanted to just run through the recruitment process. So the first step is to obviously find the role that you're interested in, and then you will apply online with your CV and covering letter. I would always recommend applying with a covering letter because it just allows you to not only put your interest across and let Siemens know, oh, I'd be really interested in this area or these kind of projects. It also shows us kind of any research you've done into Siemens or why you're interested in that specific role. Our graduate and intern roles aren't currently live, however, our fast track roles are. So if you kind of head over to our Siemens Early Careers website, you'll be able to apply for our fast track roles. And what they are is there's around 8 or 9 different roles, and you can apply with your CV. And myself and 2 other people in the Early Careers team, we just we'll look at your CV and we will link you to possible roles that we think you'll either be suitable for or interested in over the next month or so, when we start having those hiring managers come to us and going, oh, I'd like a X, Y, and Z apprentice or graduate. What I do want to say as well is if you do apply for our fast track roles and in a month or so you see a graduate role that you're interested in, please do apply for it. Never think because you've applied for one role with Siemens, you can't apply for more. Anything you're interested in, please do apply. So the next stage is CV screen. So myself or 2 of the other people in the early careers team will take a look at your CV and we will double check that obviously you're suitable for the role, you've got the qualifications that are required for the role. You'll then go on to our online game-based assessment, which is through a company called Arctic Shores. And instead of this being the typical maths, English kind of thing that quite a few companies do, allows you to this games-based assessment. It allows us to see if your behaviours are similar to what Siemens behaviours are. If you then pass this game-based assessment, you go on to an on-demand video interview. It's around 10 or 12 minutes. We ask you to answer 4 or 5 questions, record yourself answering those, and then the hiring manager then reviews that video alongside your CV, and anyone who they think is suitable for the role are then invited for an assessment centre. This assessment centre in the past 18 to 20 months have been virtual, obviously everything going on with COVID, but we are hoping in the next few months we can take them assessment centres back to being in person and we can get to meet all you guys, and you guys can come in and see our offices and where you possibly will be working and get tours of that areas. One thing the early careers team are quite proud of from the past 12 months is we have created an online platform that has taken the essence of an assessment centre and put it virtual. Obviously, like everything, there can be some issues, whether it's Wi-Fi issues or someone can't find the right link. But what this platform is, it's a place where the candidates go, everything's in one place, they've got all the information they need, they've got all the links they need, and you can easily navigate through the day of your assessment centre. So you can still do your group exercise and your Q&A, and then obviously go on to your interview. And then after your assessment centre or interview, you then typically we then go to offer, and we give you the call and feedback if that is relevant. Before I hand over to our grads, I did just want to show this slide because it really does kind of just give you a bit of an overview of where Siemens are, and we really are everywhere. So when you book your train tickets, you do it with Siemens software to travel on the trains that are made by Siemens, that are then operated with Siemens infrastructure technology. So whether you were interested in being kind of an intern who helps create that software, or a graduate who's working on those trains, to someone who's supporting the infrastructure technology, we really do have so many different opportunities here at Siemens. So please do keep I can see some questions are coming in, which is great. So please do keep your questions coming in. And as our current grads are chatting, if you do have any questions that are directed to them, please just pop, "Oh, Ellie, how come when you mention this?" Please do just pop their name in there, and we can make sure that they get answered. But thank you for sending your questions in. So I will just hand over to Ellie now to chat a bit more about herself and kind of her graduate scene so far.
Thanks, Sophie. As I kind of touched upon earlier, I am a finance and commercial graduate here in Siemens. So, with my particular role, you get hired on a 2-year scheme. Within the 2 years, you do 2 separate 1-year placements. So, as it stands now, I am just now in my last week of my first placement and looking forward to starting a new role next week. You get to work across all different areas of the business. So in my first year, this first placement I've done so far has been working with Siemens Energy, and it's been a real kind of central finance role. Whereas when I move to my new role next week, I will be working in Siemens Mobility, and I will be doing much more of a kind of project accounting based role. So completely different kind of aspects of finance. They're really keen as you kind of get through the scheme to make sure you get as broad of an experience as you possibly can. So I've been with Siemens now since September of 2020, but I would say my application process probably started of about November 2019. I remember doing the initial application process, as Sophie has kind of just touched upon in the last couple of slides, and it did make a kind of big point that the cover letter was optional. But I would say wherever you get the chance, always fill in a cover letter, because it gives you a chance to just be able to say so much more about yourself, why you're interested in the company, show that you've done some kind of research and you're really interested in working for that particular company. For me, for example, I really wanted the opportunity to work at Siemens. I grew up in Lincoln, so there is 3 massive Siemens buildings here. I've kind of always grown up around Siemens buildings. So I've always had a kind of interest in the company, what goes on. So it's really, really good opportunity to be able to whack all that information in a covering letter and just show this isn't just another job for you, you're genuinely interested in this particular role. And then, as Sophie said, my next step, I think, was to do the virtual game. I couldn't believe it when this came through, because I have never done a psychometric test before that I genuinely enjoyed. It was always just kind of filling in, where would you rank yourself this on a scale of 1 to 5? So be able to do this virtual game and just kind of have fun with it and move through these different rooms, and for them to then come back and say, we can see that you really excel in this and this, it just blew my mind a little bit that they could find that information from me from a game. So that was really interesting, and I think something that you don't get in every application process, so definitely made it a lot more fun. And then I was really lucky that I got invited to an assessment centre in January. I got the invitation through in December. So that was really, really key for me, because that was a really busy time for me in terms of exams. Siemens, I think, know that. So they make sure you've got lots of time to prepare. They know that you're busy and that you're in most likely your final year of your undergrad degree or maybe a postgrad degree. So you are kind of going to have other exams and stuff going on. So I had loads of time to prepare for my assessment centre and loads of help along the way as well. And yeah, I got offered the job in February and then had loads of kind of contact with my new manager going forward before I started in September. I've really loved my first year here at Siemens. And as I kind of said before, it was really key for me to look for a grad scheme opportunity where I could study at the same time. So ever since I started with Siemens last year, I've been studying the SEMA qualification. So for any non kind of accounting and finance people, that is the Chartered Institute of Management Accounting. So Siemens are really supportive with that, really helpful in terms of tuition, ongoing support in terms of balancing it with your workload. But another thing I really like about Siemens is they don't treat you as a kind of graduate young person. They really do throw you in. They want you to get exactly the same opportunities as their kind of like more experienced employees. The same experience in terms of working. You get exactly the same kind of workload as other people and things like that. So yeah, I've loved working for Siemens.
Thank you, Ellie. I'll hand to Antoine to do a bit about himself and his.
Cool. Hello. So yeah, as I said, I'm a graduate software engineer. I'm based in the Poole office for Siemens Mobility, so that's all train stuff. I'm working on like the cab radios for trains in my office. It's like a small part of Siemens Mobility. So I'd say my application process probably started in October 2020 when I applied for that Siemens challenge. That's when I did all the game-based assessment, and I also submitted a cover letter. Like even though it advises that you don't have to, it's just like an extra bit to describe yourself. I mean, it does take a bit of extra time, but I still recommend it. So yeah, I did the Siemens challenge as like a small group exercise over a weekend. And then probably in January, I heard back. So there was a bit of a gap. And I had asked for positions sort of either close to uni or close to home. And that's where I ended up in Poole because I'm from Southampton. So after that, I had 2 interviews and then got the offer in about March, I think, February or March. Fast forward to September, when I started, there's 2 weeks of induction, and that included, thankfully, some in-person team building as well with other graduates. And that was based in the Chippenham head office of Siemens Mobility. And yeah, now I'm working in my team. They're in the Siemens Mobility like business. They have like several month placements, like Ellie was talking about. But because I'm in a smaller office, we don't have that formal scheme. It's more like you're straight into the job, which actually I quite prefer. So yeah.
Thank you. And then I will hand to Nikhil to talk about his last but not least.
Hi everyone. Mine and Anton's story is a little bit similar. I did the predecessor, I think, to the Siemens challenge that Anton did, which was an in-person version because I did mine in my second year, which was 3 or 4 years ago now, which is quite a long time. So yeah, I did that, and then at that event they had sort of like mentors and judges just walking around looking at how the groups were doing in their challenge. And from that, I think one of the judges had put me forward into like a poll or something. So then, like Anton asked for, they asked me where I'd like to be placed if I got something. So I said close to uni because I wanted to stay in Newcastle. So they found me somewhere in Newcastle. It's probably worth mentioning as well. Before the Siemens challenge, I had to do the same stuff, you know, the cover letter, the CV, the psychometric game thing. And then, yeah, once I was there, that was for my internship because I was obviously still in second year. So I had I think I had like a week of induction, which wasn't the same as some other people I knew because, again, I was in a small office, not one of the bigger ones. But one of the really good things about the Siemens scheme was even for the interns, they had like a scheme. So every 2 months or something, I take a trip to Manchester, and we do some what was basically like a course with probably about 10 or 11 other interns, in our business unit. So it was quite good because it meant that you met other people, even though I was in a small office. The only person I was with was a graduate. So it allowed me to like make friends and things that I wouldn't have really had the opportunity to do otherwise. So yeah, that was really good. And then basically how I saw my internship was basically like a year-long interview. So I was just basically trying my hardest through the whole year to come up with new ideas, you know, like bring value to the office and the team I was working with. And then while I was at uni last year doing my final year, in around like January or February, I got a call from the same person that gave me the first call from the Siemens Challenge that I got an internship, and she asked me if I wanted to go back as a graduate. At which point I said yes because I really enjoyed my internship, and to be honest, the thought of like going somewhere else was a bit daunting because I was almost, you know, settled even after a year. So yeah, I went back. I've only been back a month, but my first month has been really good. It's a bit different to if I'd gone somewhere else, I think, because I knew everyone and I knew how things worked and I knew the processes and all that sort of thing. It allowed me just to like go straight back into working. It was kind of as if the dreaded COVID year didn't even exist, and I just carried on. So yeah, that was really nice. And yeah, I'm just enjoying it as much, if not more, than my internship. I'm just waiting for some of the graduate courses and stuff to start again.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'm glad you're enjoying your first month back with us. Just moving on before I can see you've all got your questions coming in, so thank you so much for sending those in. Before we do jump to those questions, I just wanted to mention 2 events coming up. So we've got a Women in STEM event coming up next week actually. So this is an opportunity for you to network with hiring managers, do quick fire round interviews. We have some really inspiring female engineers who are quite senior in the business also joining us, and you also get to take part in a Q&A session with some of our current female engineers who are based at the Manchester office. So that is next week. And if you are interested, please do email victoria.little@siemens.com. Her email should be on the screen now, and you can also scan the QR code for a bit more information. But that event is the applications are actually closing today. So as I said, if you are interested, please do email Victoria Little. Just let her know that you've come from this Q&A event, and we'll make sure to get your application in the right place. But we also have Sustainacity Racer 2.0, and this is actually what Antoine was talking about. So this is a weekend event, a Friday and a Saturday event, where you team up with students from all different universities across the country to present Siemens and different hiring managers within Siemens original concept for a connected and sustainable mobility system. So not only do you get a chance to show hiring managers kind of innovative thoughts, how you work in a team, and that kind of thing, you'll also get the chance to win £250 Amazon voucher and also a trophy if your team win. So again, if you are interested in that, please do scan the QR code. That's in November. And that's virtual. So please do scan the QR code and have a look if you are interested in either of those events. But now, as I said, we'll go through to your questions, and I think I'll ask Oliver if we have any questions.
We've got a lot of questions to get through. A lot.
Perfect.
So I think the first question I can see at the top here is directed, I think maybe you, Sophie, might know the most about this, is do you have any opportunities for first year undergraduate students?
Yes, so first year undergrad, so you would be perfect for our intern roles, which if you had a year in industry, you can apply for our intern roles, start with us in summer. It's a 12-month placement, but we also do have summer placements, which are around 3 months, which, as the name mentioned, it's summer placements. So you can also apply to them, and we've got those in different degree disciplines. So please do take a look at our careers site, and then you can have a look at what the kind of event roles we've got live there are.
Very nice. Let's see what else we got. Question for you, Anton. Could you please tell us more about this challenge? What did you have to do? What was the challenge about? And how did you make it to the interview stage after that weekend?
So I've actually done both versions of the challenge. It sounds like I was in the same year as Nikhil doing the in-person one. But seeing as that's not relevant for this year, maybe I'll leave that till later. So the virtual one was the Sustain a City. So we get paired up with, I think there was 5 or 6 of us, all from different universities across the country. And it really was across the country. It's like I was in Newcastle, there's people from Southampton University. It's like the full length. And so we had to design a city with the best like transportation mechanisms, and thinking about like upcoming technology, like the cost, like reliability, timescales and everything, and have to, once you've come up with it, you have to pitch it to like senior members of staff at Siemens. So it's kind of a massively accelerated business pitch, and it really tests your like team working skills, like problem solving and all that. So I think that's good enough description of the challenge. My team didn't win the challenge, so I think the team that wins the challenge gets like all of them get instantly like moved on to the like recruitment process. But everyone who participates still is like in the system to be approached like in order of who I guess is more appealing to the recruiters. So yeah, I got approached later on, and it was for the role that I'd specified when applying to the competition, like the sort of area and like geographically and like your specialism. So yeah, have I answered all of that question or not?
Yeah, you have. That was very thorough. And I think I'd say to everyone else in the call as well, Sophie talked about it at the side before, but we have basically our virtual version of this event coming up, Sustain a City Racer, open to all universities. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend, like, if you leave that up, Sophie, people can scan that code and it will take you to the application website. You can read more about it. And I would definitely recommend applying if you want to pursue a job here at Siemens.
Definitely. Sorry to interrupt you, Oliver, but just to build on what was said, in terms of kind of how you're invited to an interview. Throughout the process, we have hiring managers who pop in, kind of watch you working as a team, and you also do a presentation at the end of the Saturday. So our hiring managers, yes, the winning team do get invited to interviews, but if a hiring manager sees you in your team working, then they usually they highlight them to us and they go, I'd love to interview Oliver for the graduate engineering role, so shall we say. So you don't have to win to possibly get an opportunity with us here at Siemens. And I did just notice someone asked what the deadline for Sustain a City is, and that is next Monday at midnight. So you've got a bit longer than the Women in STEM event to apply for that one if you are interested.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sophie. Let's see what we got next. I think this question came up when you were speaking, Ellie. It was, hello, are you guaranteed a role within the company after the 2-year graduate scheme?
Yeah, so if that role related to my graduate scheme, that's a really good question. So we do 2 one-year roles as part of my graduate scheme. And when you are on your second year on the scheme, yourself, along with your graduate manager, she will be kind of constantly sending yourself and the other graduates job opportunities that have come up as a potential for you when you come off the scheme. So any kind of junior level, for me it's accounting, so any of these kind of junior level roles that might appeal to yourself and your level of experience. There are always more roles than graduates, so it's not, I guess, guaranteed that you would get a role because you apply for a role that would interest you. But there are plenty of opportunities. So as far as I know, in my past couple of years, what I've seen, everybody who has kind of been interested in staying with Siemens has found themselves a full-time role when they've come off the scheme.
Thank you very much. I see a question here that says, what are the differences in the on-demand and virtual interview? Are they competency or strength-based interviews?
Yeah, so the on-demand, I tell you what, I'll just jump back to this slide. So the on-demand video interviews is just yourself. You record yourself answering the questions, and the video interviews are live with yourself and 2 interviewers. In our interviews, we always in our live interviews, we always ask strength-based questions. We understand that obviously our graduates and interns, they may not have had years worth of experience, so by asking strength-based questions, instead of asking our candidates to draw on past experiences in a job that they might not have, it asks them to draw on certain strengths that we here at Siemens do kind of believe are quite good and useful in your roles.
Perfect. I'm seeing a lot of questions from students who have done specific degrees or they've specialized in like specific courses. So my question to you, Sophie, is if someone is specialized in a specific degree or a specific course, what would you recommend that they apply to certain roles, or they have a look on the Siemens website to see if there's certain things that they'd be interested in?
Apply to whatever you're interested in. I think especially because you can obviously go for a master's and specialise in certain things. These degrees have a lot of transferable skills. So if you see a role that you think, oh, I'd be interested in that, however my degree might not be specifically related to that, apply. If you're not suitable, you don't know till you don't try. I'm a big believer of. So if you apply, as I said before, apply to as many roles as are of interest to you. It genuinely does not hinder your application, so please feel free to, whatever you're interested in, get your application out there for it.
Can I just add a little bit onto that? I think one of the good things about the intern and graduate schemes is that you do actually get like quite a lot of flexibility because basically you're treated like an employee, but they understand that you're just at entry level. So oftentimes they'll ask you what specifically you're interested in, or if, for example, you wanted to work on something that maybe you hadn't been tasked with, you have the freedom to ask your manager, like, would you mind if I spend some time learning about this or doing this or whatever, which is one of the things I really like about working here is the flexibility.
That's a good answer. We've got a question here to all. I don't know if we're going to go through everyone here. Would you be able to touch on the culture at Siemens and what you enjoy the most about working here? So I guess I'll go first on that one. I would say in terms of, there's many companies in the world that you could work for. In terms of what I would say I like the most about Siemens is, it's not like you're working for the company. It's almost like you're all working as a team towards the same goals. So it's very much not about the input that you put in, it's about the results that you put out. So you can do whatever you want, or you can work towards something however you want, but as long as you achieve that, then the company will be happy with you. What about you, Sophie?
Yeah, I massively agree that it is like a big team. I think one of the biggest cultures that stand out for me is ownership culture, and I kind of go on about it till I'm blue in the face whenever I do things like this. That if we are all human, we all make mistakes, but if you stand up and own that and say, look, I've made a mistake, however, here is how I am going to fix it, or in your interview, if you can give an example of where you took ownership of a project or something that happened, it really does stand out because you have a lot of freedom within Siemens. It's very flexible. You have the chance to possibly pick and choose and what projects you want to help in. So as long as you're taking ownership of what you want to do, but also taking ownership of that work and making sure it's done that to the highest standard, then it really is an amazing environment to work in, and you get lots of opportunities. So I think that's one of my favorite things is I work in recruitment. However, the opportunities that I do get, the people I get to meet, it's kind of all across the country getting to meet different people. Ellie?
Yeah, they were both really good answers. And to be honest, I'd completely agree with both of those. Being in kind of an office based role, obviously, I started in September 2020. So I personally was really worried about being onboarded from home and what that was going to kind of mean for me in terms of like building relationships at work. But as Oliver said, working for Siemens it's all about teamwork. It's really, really collaborative. So I've never felt that I've kind of missed out on any opportunities, having only ever worked from home and not been able to go into an office and things like that. And then I would also completely agree with what Sophie said as well, in that if you see an opportunity come up where you would maybe like to work on a certain area of your knowledge, or you kind of, overhear about some work that's going on and you think, I'd really be quite interested in getting to know a bit more about that. Everybody is always really open to have a conversation with you, or potential shadowing opportunities and things like that for you to learn a little bit more. And for me as well, I would probably say my favorite thing about my role in particular is the fact that I get to study, and Siemens support me through that 100% in terms of managing workload, tuition, as I kind of touched upon earlier. So I really like that through Siemens, I'm kind of furthering my specific knowledge in accounting and will be fully qualified at the end. So that's my favorite thing about my role, probably.
Perfect. Anton, Kyle, do you kind of have anything else? I know it's sometimes hard to go, oh, I've thought of this, but
yeah, everything you said is true. Everything everyone else said is true. But I think one of the things that stands out a lot is the focus on like allowing you to be trained up. So there's like my manager's always saying, "Oh, we're happy to pay for you to go on the courses if it helps you like improve your knowledge and improve your skills." And I've worked for a different multinational company on my placement, and it felt like I didn't have those same opportunities. It just seems Siemens offers a lot, and it's quite reasonably relaxed, like working atmosphere. There was one more thing. Oh yeah, there's like extra schemes, like we get paid volunteering days. I don't know if it's the same across the whole business, but it's those kind of things that makes it seem like a more relaxed and more like a community.
And then for me, I'd say one of the other things, apart from all the things you've said, is inclusivity. Like, because it is a multinational corporation, at my team, I don't know if other people are as well, but we're always having meetings with people in like India or China or wherever. And I think that really helps to boost the inclusivity of it, and that sort of appreciating like neurodiversity and also like diversity within people, because obviously being an engineer, like there's different people engineer things in different ways. So in China it's completely different, but what I like is that you never feel uncomfortable about putting forward an idea, or even challenging someone's idea, which I think is really important. Is if you were to challenge someone, they're not going to think you're a nuisance or something, because everyone's, as Sophie said, everyone's a team trying to work towards the best outcome.
Perfect, good answers. I hope that answered all of your questions. Got another one here. Do you accept, this might be for you, Sophie, do you accept international students? Can you provide a sponsor visa? And what are the points to keep in mind for an international student looking for career options?
Perfect. Lots of questions. I'll try and make sure I answer them all. Yes, we do accept international students. We can sponsor visas. However, the government have also introduced a new graduate visa, which allows graduates to stay in the country for 2 years after their degree has ended, when they have graduated. So that is also an excellent opportunity for graduates to stay that bit longer in the country, if that's something you guys weren't aware of. But yes, we do sponsor visas. We do take international applicants. In terms of what points to keep in mind for international students, I don't think there is anything really that separates international students to students who aren't. You are all great candidates, and I think to stand out in the application process, one of the things I'd say is on your CV, make sure you've got relevant work experience, relevant modules that you've studied at university. If you have ever kind of partaken in possibly the Sustain a City Racer, or you've been a previous intern at Siemens, get that on your CV or in your cover letter. Just make, I know it's quite hard to do, but just make your CV stand out, and that kind of thing, and that'll once you catch my eye to the recruiter's eyes, you're pretty good to go to the next stage most of the time. I hope that answered the question.
I think it did, definitely. Another Sustain a City related question. Is the Sustain a City Racer open to recent graduates, or is it only open to current students?
It's open to recent graduates.
Perfect. A good question here. What are challenges you faced while doing online onboarding, and your view on the approachability of seniors? Who wants to take that?
I could take that. Me personally, I was fully onboarded from home, so I might be in a good position to answer that one. So in terms of challenges, I would say one of the biggest things that I was worried about for sure was building relationships, and also something that they talk about quite a lot in terms of office work, which is like I guess like water cooler chats. So where you kind of have really informal chats with somebody, but through that you pick up little things about what it is that they do or what they're working on at the minute and things like that. So I was worried I was going to kind of miss out on that particular experience. In terms of building relationships, Siemens, for me, working in the kind of like office side of it, everybody's in the same boat, so they are really, really keen on making sure that you are still able to have these kind of informal chit chats. The particular team that I'm in, we have a really informal catch up every Monday morning where we all just catch up what we did at the weekend, what are we looking forward to about the week ahead. We also do like a little quiz, which is really fun and just a nice little icebreaker to start the week. In terms of this kind of like water cooler chat that I mentioned as well, Siemens do a really good, we call it just like a virtual coffee morning. So that is where you can join a call with people that you wouldn't necessarily speak to in your role, and just have a little chat with them about what it is that they do, what they're working on at the minute. And that's also a really good way to build relationships with people that you don't speak to every day and you don't kind of work alongside. There's also another thing, kind of a bit wider, called coffee roulette, where you can literally speak to a completely random person. You'll have maybe 15 minutes or half an hour with them, and you get to learn a little bit about each other. And that's potentially wider than your specific field. So for me as an accountant, I could be randomly paired with Sophie in HR, and we would get to learn a little bit about each other and what it is that we both do. Approachability to seniors is a really good question as well. Siemens do a lot of these things which are kind of called town halls, which is where you get to join a webinar with the real senior managers. You get to see what it is that they're kind of working on at the minute, the topics that they're really focusing on, and just learn a bit about the kind of short-term goals that everybody's thinking about at the minute, results in terms of like financial results and things like that. You are also able to kind of ask questions in that, like we are able to in this webinar here. So the really senior level of management are always kind of approachable within your kind of reach. It's not like you never get to go up that high. And then your kind of senior managers that are just a little bit above you. I know in my role, it's really good with them as well in terms of putting in big meetings that everybody joins. Similarly, like I just said about the town halls, they talk about hot topics that they're working on at the minute, just always kind of keeping people in the loop about what is going on above you, which I think is really beneficial.
Thank you very much, Ali. That was a really good answer. Another question here. I think Sophie, you would know the most about this. So the question is, what sort of preparation should we do for the game-based assessment? But I think I'd also open that up and say, what sort of preparation should you do overall for the entire application process?
Yeah, so for the games-based assessment, it's not something that you massively have to prepare for, because it's kind of just, it's finding out what your behaviours are, and whether they kind of be suitable for Siemens, whether you've got behaviours that we think would make a great future leader, and that kind of thing. You can, when you are invited to that stage, you can do kind of practice tests almost, and read more on the website. That there is quite a lot of information on the website for Arctic Shores that allows you to kind of see how it will run. In terms of present preparation for the whole of the process, I'd recommend doing research into Siemens and into the specific business unit you've applied for. As I mentioned before, Siemens is such a huge company. There's lots of different businesses, lots of little golden eggs that when you do research on, say you were going for a role in our digital industries business, if you research our digital industries business specifically, you'd find out all the different cool, exciting things that they're doing, and you can kind of jot them down, mention them in your interview, mention them in your CV, or anything like that. And also preparation for your actual interview, research the STAR method for answering questions when given examples in your interview, and also researching strength-based interview questions.
So,
I'd just like to add on to that. Well, yeah, the STAR method, definitely look up, try it, because that's essentially the only thing that got me through interviews. But also make use of your university's career service. So they offer like practice interviews in person, like practice recorded video interviews, They like review CVs, cover letters. There's something else that I forgot. But they they do all these things, and you're already paying for them out of your tuition fee, so you might as well use them.
Thanks, Antoine. There's a good question here from Nicholas. I have seen that the graduate schemes mention that one of the placements is likely to be abroad. Is there an element of choice as to which country you would be in, or is it a specific abroad placement for each different graduate scheme?
So this is very specific. We don't often have abroad placements for our graduate scheme. So if you were successful in this graduate scheme, it works a lot with the hiring manager and what opportunities we have abroad. Obviously, we wouldn't just send you to some country that you didn't want to go. So it would be a conversation that a two-way conversation, but that isn't something that we always offer. We offer different placements. So like Ellie, she does different 12-month placements across the country, but it's not the abroad isn't always. We don't have so many opportunities, unfortunately, with that. However, that is definitely something we are trying to encourage our hiring managers to get more involved with, because it obviously offers a lot of progression and stuff like that in careers.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm seeing other questions. Like there's one here that says, "Is there any opening for quality assurance?" What's QA, Sophie? Quantity. What is it?
Quality assurance, I think.
Quality assurance. As I have experience related to that. Do you want to take this one, Sophie? But I'd say have a look at our Early Careers website with all the fast track portals, and there's a list of each individual like specialization that you could go into. So if you're asking if we have any openings for that, I'd recommend looking at that list, and then you'll be able to see if we do indeed have that. Do you want to add on to that, Sophie?
Yeah, definitely. I'll just flick to my last page now. We're talking about our fast track schemes. So as mentioned earlier on as well, as Oliver just mentioned, our fast track opportunities are open. So there's around 8 or 9 different disciplines that you can register your interest for. So please do follow, either search Siemens Early Careers or scan the below QR code. I also wanted to pop the apprentice fast track on there, just because if you guys know of anyone who might be interested in apprenticeship or anything like that, we offer roles from level 3, which is just out of high school, right up to master's degree apprenticeship. So please do have a look at that kind of thing, and you can register your interest for both of these, that kind of thing. But yeah, I would definitely have a look if you're looking at a professional role in QA. If you just go to our Siemens careers site, make sure you're filtered on the UK. Any roles that we do have live will come up there as well.
Perfect, thank you. I see questions popped up here for you, Ellie. Ellie mentioned working towards chartered status in management/accounting. Does Siemens support and encourage engineers to work towards chartered engineer status?
Yeah, they'll let you do whatever you want. If like I've got I don't know if people remember, but before when I mentioned the graduate that was 1 year above me when I did my internship, he's 1 year into his graduate, or 2 years into his graduate scheme, and he's going off to do a PhD that's sponsored next year, I think. So there's lots of opportunities as long as it's like relevant, and it'll bring you'll be able to bring skills back that you can use in engineering, for example, to progress the product or whatever. They obviously see value in that, and it's it's a way of there's like a bit of give and take in all of the relationships, and obviously if you've given a lot, which a lot of people do in their graduate schemes, then you've got the freedom to sort of mold your own path.
Perfect. Sophie, which program, internship, placement, or grad role is more suitable for a 1-year taught master's student, and which of them have the opportunities to apply for a full-time job afterwards?
So a master's student, that's after you've completed your masters, you're more than welcome to apply for any of those roles. It does not matter. However, as Ellie mentioned, for our graduate roles, we always, as long as you've performed well in your graduate scheme with us, and you want to say something, you want to stay with Siemens, sorry, then we will look for the opportunity, and we really do want to keep you. So there's definitely opportunities to apply for full-time roles afterwards, but also in our internships, you don't have to be taking a year in industry. If you are a recent graduate or you've just finished your masters, then please do feel free to apply to our intern roles. It isn't guaranteed. The only issue with our internships is it isn't guaranteed there is a permanent role. However, you make so many new connections within Siemens, and there's so many new opportunities. There is possibly many opportunities you can then go on to after the 12 months.
Perfect, thank you. Another one for you, Sophie. I think, are there any managerial roles where the German language is required? I saw a few questions with people talking about German, and I guess you could talk about how Siemens is, well, the main headquarters is in Germany. So
yeah, so obviously Siemens is a German company, and if you speak any other language that you speak is always great. There's Siemens offices all around the world. I worked with someone in the Manchester office who did a secondment in India. So he spent 9 months in India. So there's Siemens offices all around the world. So if you do speak another language, it's great. Managerial roles in terms of German language being required, I don't know of this. I don't think that is a requirement. I know kind of the CEO in this country doesn't speak German or anything like that. So I think if you didn't speak German, then you'd definitely be okay.
cool. I'm conscious of time as well. We've only got a few minutes left. So if anyone has any questions that I haven't seen or we haven't answered, feel free to ask them again, and we'll see if we can squeeze them in. In the meantime, how can I make my CV stand out with extensive volunteering experience and diverse study and work experience? So basically, how can you make your CV stand out, Sophie?
Pop everything relevant at the top. Let the recruiter know what volunteering you've done, but also how kind of it's impacted in you. If we see volunteering on your CV, instantly we're like, oh, or if you've done relevant work experience or anything like that, I'd definitely make sure to get it on there and get it near the top of your CV. So when we click into your CV and open it, it's right there. As Oliver mentioned, we are quite conscious of time. So if we haven't managed to answer all of your questions or you've not had a chance to answer it, I have just popped a email address into the inbox as a question. So if you want to fire any questions that didn't get answered or anything, if you think of a question in an hour or tomorrow or next week, please do make sure to send it to that inbox, and we'll make sure I'll make sure to get it answered. But I think we're coming towards the end of our time here today. So I just wanted to say thank you, all of you, for joining and spending nearly an hour with us and asking so many really amazing questions. I also want to say thank you to Oliver, Ellie, Anton and Nicole for spending kind of an hour and a half, taking an hour and a half out of the day to support and come and answer all your questions.
Perfect. If I could add one more thing on as well, if you want to keep up to date with all of our early career stuff, if you want to see what's happening at Siemens, I would highly recommend follow us on Instagram, which is just Siemens_UK. Basically, all of our socials are Siemens UK. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, anything, just search up Siemens UK, drop us a follow, and you'll be able to keep up to date with everything, all the new roles coming out, and all of the stuff that we have going on as well. So I'd highly recommend it.
Definitely. And also thank you for Phoebe, who is kind of, I know she's behind the scenes and set all this up. So thank you for your support in getting this up and out to everyone. But thank you all for joining. Hope to see your applications very soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.